The complete works of Swami Vivekananda Bhakti, lecture delivered by Swamiji at Lahore in 1897, Part 1. There is a sound which comes to us like the distant echo in the midst of the roaring torrents of the Upanishads, at times rising in proportion and volume, and yet throughout the literature of the Vedanta, its voice, though clear, is not very strong. The main duty of the Upanishads seems to be present before us, the spirit and the aspect of the sublime, and yet behind this wonderful sublimity, there comes to us here and there glimpses of the poetry as we read. There the sun shines not, nor the moon, nor the stars. What to speak of this fire? As we listen to the heart-stirring poetry of these marvelous lines, we are taken, as it were, off from the world of the senses, off even from the world of intellect, and brought to that world which can never be comprehended, and yet which is always with us. There is behind even this sublimity another ideal following as its shadow, one more acceptable to the mankind, one more of daily use, one that has to enter into every part of human life, which assumes proportion and volume later on, and is stated in full and determined language in the Purana, and that is the ideal of bhakti. The germs of bhakti are there already. The germs are even in the Samahita. The germs, a little more developed, are in the Upanishads, and they are worked out in their details in the Puranas. To understand bhakti, therefore, we have got to understand these Puranas of ours. There have been many great discussions of late as to their authenticity. Many a passage of uncertain meaning has been taken up and criticized. In many places it has been pointed out that the passages cannot stand the light of modern science and so forth. But apart from all these discussions, apart from the scientific validity of the statements of the Puranas, apart from their valid or invalid geography, apart from their valid or invalid astronomy and so forth, what we find for a certainty, traced out bit by bit almost in every one of these volumes, is this doctrine of bhakti, illustrated, re-illustrated, stated and restated in the lives of saints and in the lives of kings. It seems to have been the duty of the Puranas to stand as illustrations for that great ideal of the beautiful, the ideal of bhakti, and this, as I have stated, in so much nearer to ordinary man. Very few indeed are there who can understand and appreciate, far less live and move in the grandeur of the full blaze of the light of the Vedanta, because the first step for the pure Vedantist is to be abhi, fearless. Weakness has to go before a man dares to be a Vedantist. And we know how difficult that is. Even those who have given up all connection with the world and have very few bondages with the world, and very few bondages that would make them cowards, feel in their heart of hearts how weak they are at moments, at times how soft they become, how cowed down. Much more so it is with men who have so many bondages and have to remain as slaves to so many hundreds and thousands of things inside of themselves and outside of themselves. Men every moment of those life who is dragging down slavery. To them, the Puranas come with the most beautiful message of bhakti. For them, the softness and the poetry are spread out. For them are told these wonderful and marvelous stories of the Dhruva and Prahlada and 1,000 saints. And these illustrations are to make it practical. Whether you believe in the scientific accuracy of the Puranas or not, there is not one among you whose life has not been influenced by the story of Prahlad or that of Dhruv or of any one of these great Puranic saints. We have not only to acknowledge the power of the Puranas in our own day, but we ought to be grateful to them as they gave us in the past a more comprehensive and a better popular religion than what the degraded later day Buddhism was leading us to. This easy and smooth idea of bhakti has been written and worked upon, and we have to embrace it in our everyday practical life. For we shall see how we to go on with the idea that has been worked out until bhakti becomes the essence of love. So long as there shall be such a thing as personal and material love, one cannot go behind the teachings of the Puranas. So long as there shall be the human weakness of leaning upon somebody for support, these Puranas in some form or the other must always exist. You can change their names, you can condemn those that are already existing, but immediately you will be compelled to write another Purana. If there arises among us a sage who will not want these old Puranas, we shall find that his disciples, within 20 years of his death, will make of his life another Purana. That will be the difference.